Hello everyone, and welcome to the first SSP webinar of 2020. You are joining us for a discussion titled Engaging Early Career Researchers. I'm Jeff Lang with the American Chemical Society, the chair of the SSP Webinars Working Group, and we're pleased that you could join us today. In a moment, we'll get started and hear from our moderators and panelists. You'll be seeing the SSP start screen as we get started here. Your phone will be muted automatically in consideration of our presenters and your fellow webinar participants. Please use the questions feature to send in your questions, or if you need to let us know that you're having technical difficulties. The moderators will review questions and present them to the panelists. To help them, please specify to which presenter you'd like your question directed, and also please send in your questions as we go. They will be addressed after the initial discussions. At the conclusion of today's session, you'll receive a webinar evaluation via email. We encourage you to provide feedback so we can continually improve the SSP webinar program. You'll also receive a link via email to the recorded broadcast of this webinar and any notes. The moderators today are Kirsten Ronald and Lini Argabright. Kirsten is a marketing analyst with the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and previously had multiple roles with e-commerce startups. She holds a PhD in American Studies from the University of Texas at Austin. Lini is a 2019-2020 SSP Fellow and a master's student of Information and Library Science at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where she's a research assistant in the Scholarly Communications Department of the University Libraries. She's previously worked in various university presses. Now I'll turn the webinar over to Kirsten so she can introduce the panel and get us started.
Fantastic. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thank you, Jeff, so much for your introduction. I'm Kirsten Ronald. I'm the marketing analyst at PNAS, and my co-moderator is Lini Argabright. As Jeff mentioned, she's a master's student in Information and Library Science at UNC Chapel Hill, and you'll be hearing from her shortly. We're both really excited to be talking with all of you about engaging and supporting early career researchers. Our goal today is to explore a number of successful early career researcher programs and to provide you with tools and ideas and metrics that you can bring back to your own organization wherever you are in the scholarly publishing ecosystem. To that end, we've asked each of our panelists to provide you with a brief overview of their program in the first half of the webinar, and then we've reserved the second half for questions and discussion. As Jeff mentioned earlier, please send questions into the questions tab at any time. You can also use the chat function to chat to all participants if you'd like to join the conversation, or head over to Twitter and use the hashtag SSPWebinar.
Our speakers today are Lisa. Thanks, Kirsten. Our speakers today are Lisa Jarvis, the senior correspondent at Chemistry and Engineering News, who will be talking with us about the American Chemical Society's Talented 12 program. Dana Compton, the editorial director at the American Society of Civil Engineers and president of the Council of Science Editors, who will tell us about the ASCE Journal's Early Career Editorial Boards. Kat Sunsbo, Scholarly Communications and Research Support Manager in the Library Services at University Essex, who will tell us about the library's Newcomers program, and TV Singh, who is the Chief Computational Scientist at University of California, Los Angeles' Institute for Digital Research and Education, who will speak with us today about the early career program he is running at UCLA. So I'll hand it over now to Lisa. Thank you all for joining the conversation. We look forward to talking with you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. I'm Lisa Jarvis. I'm a senior correspondent at Chemical and Engineering News, which is the weekly magazine for the American Chemical Society. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about a program we introduced in 2015 called Talented 12. For some reason, my screen is not forwarding. There we go. So this special annual feature for our magazine was conceived of as a way of identifying and promoting early career chemists. We wanted to highlight young researchers who we think are going to be the scientific trendsetters in years to come, and do it in a way that really makes clear the societal impact of their work. Each year, we pick 12 researchers that represent the breadth of the chemical enterprise. So we look across all sectors, academia, government, industry, and institutions globally. And of course, are looking for diversity, which to us means both representation in terms of gender, race, internationality, but also the type of scientific problems that people are working on. Here's a snapshot of last year's Talented 12, and these researchers represent a spectrum of science, from water waste recovery, drug development, tracking PFAS in the environment, understanding human breast milk, just to name a few of the areas. So in terms of what this program entails, in the last 5 years, Talented 12 has grown far beyond just a print and online package. We have, it's one issue each year dedicated to this, but now we include events, social media, and educational components. So each year our list is revealed during the ACS Fall National Meeting. We have a little event on the Sunday night that the meeting kicks off. And then the next day we have a symposium featuring a high-profile keynote speaker. In the past, that's been people from Nobel Prize winner Harry Gray to David Liu or Paula Hammond. And then each person on our list gives a 15-minute TED-style talk at the symposium, which has grown to be quite popular. We hold it in a room that holds 400, and last year it was pretty full throughout the entire morning. That's followed by a luncheon where the 12 researchers get plaques and we just celebrate their achievements. We have sponsorship for this program, and I'll just take a moment to stress that our sponsor has no control over who we pick for our list or editorial content at all. They're just kind of the financial underwriter of the program. But because of that sponsorship, we've added in a few more components to it, including social media campaigns around scientific inspiration and other topics. And last year, for the first time, we held a webinar with a panel of Talented 12 alumni who talked about how to start up an academic lab. And I think we had around 400 people who logged in for that. So in terms of how we measure success for Talented 12, we have a lot of different angles that we look at. First are the quality and quantity of nominations we receive. We have an open nominations form, and in the past 4 years, we've seen a really steady rise in the number of names we get. Last year, we topped 500 nominations, and that was across 350 unique scientists. As you can imagine, sometimes we see campaigns where nomination campaigns where we get, say, 12 nominations for the same person. But we also are interested in the quality of the nominations. You know, who is putting a name forward. Again, we get Nobel Prize winners who are submitting names, heads of R&D from big pharma. We really like to see that come across the transom. And then are the names that we're getting, you know, good? Are they the right people for us to create a balanced list that we feel proud of each year? Next, website traffic. So we don't want everything to be about clicks, but of course we want to know that people are reading about these scientists. You know, that's a pretty good measure of whether their name is being elevated, and they are. This is one of our most read features of the year. So for last year's Talented 12, which dropped at the end of August, through December 2019, the package had 50,000 impressions. We also look at social media. The ACS press office sends out an embargoed press release in advance of the print package going live. And so we're always really excited to see when a university or a company press office creates their own press release that they put out, or they promote the program through their own social media channels. Similarly, when we see influencers within the scientific community talking about it on social media, or we find out that you know, during presentations, people are mentioning someone as having been a member of Talented 12. Attendance at the symposium, as I noted, we love a packed room and think it's a testament to the quality of the program. We've heard from many folks that this is one of their favorite sessions during the ACS fall meeting. It's a little different than a lot of the other content that's there, both in terms of the breadth of topics and the casual styles of the talks. So it really seems to resonate with folks. And then, you know, this next one is really important to us, the impact on the careers of the people that we've highlighted in Talented 12. You know, we really want this to be a platform to elevate someone's career. And we've heard from alumni that that can come in many different forms. For academic researchers, we've been told that people who are new professors get much stronger postdoctoral candidate applications, that they've been invited to be on NIH and review committees and other panels typically reserved for more established faculty. We've also been told that it's been a factor in one person getting a job at a more marquee institution. In industry, we've heard that it's raised the profile of researchers within very large organizations, giving them opportunities and responsibilities that they might have had to wait a few years for. And, you know, imitation is always the best form of flattery, right? So we've seen some of our folks appear on lists like Tech Review 35, Forbes 30 Under 30, Stat Wonderkins, you know, say 6 months or a year after they've been on our list, which lets us know that they get to reach a whole new audience. So those are just a few ways that we think our program can broadly raise the profile of a researcher. A robust alumni network is also important to us. So I maintain a contact list of all the folks who have been on our list and watch where they go and what they do and scientifically. And we tapped them for a number of internal projects. We're really trying to create a community here. So I asked them to nominate other researchers when it comes time to pick this year's Talented 12. I asked them to participate in webinars and other programs for the magazine. Last year, for the first time, we had an alum from our very first year in 2015. He came back and was closed out our symposium for us, which was really well received. And we've also tried to encourage them to stay in touch with each other. And I think at this point, I can say that we have at least 2, possibly 3 papers that have come out of collaborations that were fostered through alumni that met through this program. And then for us, sustainable funding through sponsorship. You know, this program has grown sufficiently in the chemistry community that we now have a sponsor, which has helped us to really expand the scope of the events we have around it. And I'll just end with a brief word on future challenges. As I mentioned, this program has grown really quickly in the last 5 years, and our biggest challenge really is managing the increasing number of nominations. So I look forward to hearing from everybody else in this group and to see if other similar programs have a process, software, any advice on how to think about keeping track of early career scientists. And I, of course, would be remiss if I didn't promote our nomination form, which is open now through April 6th. If you know a good chemical scientist you think would be appropriate, please nominate them. So that's my little snapshot of Talented 12. Kirsten, happy to turn the screen back over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That sounds amazing. So let's move on to hear from Dana now.
Hi, sorry, it took me a minute to get the share my screen going. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you to Kirsten and Lenny for inviting me to participate. I'm the editorial director at the American Society of Civil Engineers, and I'm going to share a little bit about a program we recently launched called the ASCE Early Career Editorial Boards. So this program provides a pathway for early career researchers interested in pursuing an editorial leadership position with ASCE journals. Our ECEB members participate on one of our editorial boards under the direct mentorship of an assigned chief editor or associate editor. So this program is aimed at achieving a few key goals. First, ASCE has an organization-wide initiative to engage members under 35. So one of our primary goals is to engage younger members of ASCE, although we chose not to put a time limit on that, or an age limit, I should say. More broadly, we hope to cultivate the next generation of researchers and simultaneously introduce early career researchers to the ASCE family of journals. We see this program as a forum for new ideas, and one of the main outcomes we're looking to achieve is greater ethnic and gender diversity on our editorial boards, which are very often built on existing relationships and networks. So we hold a workshop for all of our journal editors every November. We presented this concept to them at our 2018 workshop with the hope of recruiting at least a handful of our 34 editors to participate in a pilot. So at that workshop, we presented to them our ideas about how the program might be structured, what appropriate responsibilities and qualifications might be, and then we had an open discussion to get their feedback. At the end of that meeting, we had about 7 interested editors. The following spring, we presented that group with a more detailed job description based on our discussion at the workshop. We asked them to review and provide comments. And we finally came up with a finalized description by like end of summer, early fall of last year. I will say a couple of the editors did end up dropping out. They had kind of a different vision of what the program might look like. I'll get into a few more of those details later. And we ended up with 5 participating journals. The official announcement occurred in late October through early November 2019, with editor's notes published in each of the journals. And as of today, all of the journals have either selected their ECEB members or are actively in the process of doing so. So one thing we negotiated with our editors in finalizing the job description was at what career stage qualified ECEB members should ideally be. We'd proposed at the workshop that this could be anywhere from PhD candidate to perhaps 10 years out from having earned their PhD. And through our discussions, we kind of narrowed that down and all decided that the sweet spot where these people have the appropriate experience to act in this capacity, but also aren't likely already participating on an editorial board, was probably about 1 to 3 years from having earned their PhD. In terms of experience, the editors are looking for people who are familiar with the peer review process, who have some experience writing reviews, and who have published their own work in journals. And so the idea for this program is that it's readying its participants for editorial leadership, not teaching them how to be a reviewer. So this is where one editor who was originally interested in participating actually decided to opt out. He was anticipating and looking for more of a reviewer development program. And then finally, because one of our primary goals is to engage younger members, we do require all ECEB members to be members of ASCE. In terms of responsibilities, we expect ECEB members to provide reviews for at least 3 submissions annually. Because these are individuals who should already have some review experience and are working toward leadership, we discussed that the editors might, unbeknownst to the ECEB member, ask that they complete a tiebreaker review when there are 2 conflicting suggested decisions, or perhaps they would rely on these people to provide expedited reviews when a previously assigned reviewer fails to follow through. Then, taking their participation in the peer review process a step further, ECEB members will work with their mentor editors to identify suitable reviewers for new submissions. They will act as social media ambassadors for their journals, trying to bolster their presence and promote their content. At the editor's discretion, ECEB members might be tasked with assisting guest editors in coordinating special topic collections. And they are invited to attend regular editorial board meetings and ideally take the minutes. We discussed with the editors some other parameters, some of which are flexible and one which is not. Individual journal editors are free to decide things like the length of the term, the number of ECEB members to appoint, their preferred application process, deadline, who's on their selection committee. But what we did insist on is that all participating journals must issue an open call for applicants. And this is because of our goal to increase diversity. We really didn't want editors simply turning back to their existing networks to fill these seats. This was a sticking point with one editor who also had originally planned to participate. He did not want to be inundated with applicants. He really preferred simply to invite people directly. And in the end, because we felt very strongly that the open call was necessary to maximize diversity, that journal opted not to participate. We also wanted to articulate why a researcher might want to participate on one of our ECEBs. What's in it for them? So a few of the benefits we identified included that because this program is a pathway to editorial leadership, it allows those participating in the process already to take a next step forward. The participants gain knowledge with things like selecting reviewers, recommending decisions, journal promotion. They have the benefit of direct mentorship, as I mentioned, by a current ASCE editor, and their name is called out on the journal masthead as part of the ECEB. So this just shows some of the steps we took to promote the program, and again speaks to our emphasis on issuing the open call. As I mentioned, each editor prepared an editor's note for publication in his or her journal. Our staff sent an email blast out of our submission system with a link to that note. The marketing team tweeted about it. We actually worked with our diversity and inclusion staff to reach out to other societies with whom we have relationships so that they could promote the program to their membership, including organizations like the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and the Society of Women Engineers. And we did some specific outreach to department heads and faculty chairs. In terms of specific outcomes, unfortunately, I don't have a ton to share as of today since we're still very early on. We did feel the call was extremely successful. Each of the 5 journals had more than 40 applications. One actually received 79, which we thought was fantastic. The editors say the applicants were mostly qualified, mainly international, which we think means our efforts at diversity were successful. We did get a number of applications from overqualified, more senior researchers, which isn't really in the spirit of the program. We have 2 journals still making final selections and assigning mentors. Our staff is providing training materials. And once the ECEBs have been active for a few months, we'll try to measure success by looking at things like social media presence and their ability to provide quality reviews. And of course, we'll ask for feedback from the editors and the mentors. Depending on the success of the pilot, we do have some other ideas for the future. We give out 1 Outstanding Associate Editor Award each year and think perhaps there's opportunity for an Outstanding ECEB Member Award. This could help promote the program further and encourage participation. And then because we had at least 1 editor who had more interest in an assistant reviewer or reviewer mentorship program, we're looking at developing something like that as well. That's it for me. I hope this was helpful, and I'll look forward to answering questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana. That was really wonderful. Before we move on, I just wanted to briefly mention, everyone feel free to write your questions into the questions tab. And we will be able to approach those answers at the second half of the webinar. All right, so let's move on to Kat. We're looking forward to hearing about a library program.
Right, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to do this webinar. I'm going to talk to you about Newcomers, which is a network for early career ethics researchers, but I'll just refer to it as Newcomers throughout the talk, and it's a collaborative approach to research support here at the university. I'm just going to dig straight in to our Research Week program, which looks like this. So this is our most recent Research Week program, and this is how Newcomers and this plan to support early career researchers was born, because there's a lot of sessions and support happening at the university, but none of it was kind of centralized and none of it was targeted to early career researchers. So a group of us came together and decided to create this Research Week. We decided to try to do it in January before the lectures and the term starts, because a lot of our early career researchers are doing teaching as well, because we're a dual intense university, focus on teaching, focus on research. So we have some general sessions that we tend to run every January, which are things like online research profiles, literature searching, publishing process, grant writing, open access, and research governance and ethics. And then we have each year we try to introduce something new, make it a bit more interesting. We remove sessions that might not be well attended to fit outside the Research Week program, and then so we tweak it every year so that people can still come and get something fresh. So this year we introduced a copyright DOE, which is an introduction to copyright through using Play-Doh and discussion. Last year we had our open access escape room, which was created at the University of Essex by myself, which is on Figshare if you're interested. But we try to keep it interesting every year. I'm just going to take it back one step. So I mentioned that we started it through a working group. So it's actually during the summer 2017, we started planning for this research week. And based on some feedback we had through our library advisory group in 2017, we realized that a lot of our postgraduate researchers and our early career researchers were quite lonely. So we decided to set up Newcomers not only as a research week, but as this network to try to help try to beat that that loneliness that they might be experiencing. We tried doing the research week twice a year, the first year that we ran it, so in January and June, and we've decided to only run it in January due to the amount of organizational work it takes to set this up. So January 2020, this year, was our 4th research week. So Newcomers, we have our own website under the library services. Everything about our current or our previous research week and all the other research weeks is on there, so you can look at how our program has developed throughout the years. We also list new upcoming sessions that might be relevant to early career researchers, and there's links to we have a mailing list and some information that might be relevant. Our courses are advertised through 2 channels here at Essex, and that is a portal called HR Organizer, which is where staff book onto training, and a portal called Proficio, which is aimed at students. And this is to just increase discoverability of our sessions. In terms of our planning, we're currently 4 team members organizing Newcomers on a very kind of intense level. So we started with this huge working group, and then we've kind of condensed it down to 4 team members representing the Research and Enterprise Office, the Library Service, and the UK Data Archive, which is where most of our courses are coming from. All the content and all the planning and all our communication happens through Box, so it's kind of like a Dropbox but for institutions. Each time we run the research week, we collect quite a lot of feedback and statistics, and this is kind of one of the things that we do collect, and every time we collect the feedback, we go and review it, we look at the data, we look at the comments, and then we try to improve our research week every single time we run it. So we have quite consistently about 80, 90 participants, single participants throughout the week. A lot of these come to 2 to 3 sessions on average, and not all of them show up. So I'm sure that if you have set up sessions for anyone that are voluntary, you'll know that not everyone who signs up will show up, and we can see here that is the case as well. But we do have quite a lot of late signups as well, so people who notice that we're on and then drop into some of the sessions. We also have a very interesting thing happening sometimes in our program where we have more people signing up or showing up on Mondays and Wednesdays than the rest of the week, and I don't know what that is, but it might be useful if you're planning to run a session. Maybe a Wednesday or a Monday might be better. We also have collected some more statistics around who attends our sessions. So a lot of research students attend our sessions and lecturers, but we also have professional services staff and senior lecturers. Previously, we've had undergraduates or master students attend as well. So we do say that we are targeted at early career researchers, but we do not turn anyone away who might want to attend our sessions. So we do have quite a wide range of audience. And this year, we can see that we're hitting quite a lot of our departments as well. So not every single department is represented by participants for Newcomers, but we're very, very diverse in terms of who we're reaching, which is why our sessions in the research week are very bite-sized introduction sessions, and they're not very subject specific. So they're meant to be introductions so that they can get a feel of a specific topic, and then they can go and look for more information if they need some specific advice, because a lot of the things that they ask about are very subject specific or specific to a project. We also can collect feedback, so written feedback. So we ask our participants to fill out feedback forms, and this is kind of just a word cloud when we've asked people about their experience of the sessions. And we do get quite a lot of positive feedback back around how they find it informative, engaging, clear, interesting, and good. We do also have quite a lot of people coming up to us during the research week and thanking us for running the program. So it does feel quite rewarding to run this whole program. I think I'm running out of time, but I'm running out of slides as well, so that kind of is a perfect match. But I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have any questions, then just type them in the chat. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kat. Now our final presenter is TV Singh. We're gonna hand it over to you now, TV.
Waiting for the screen share.
Yeah, you should just be able, it'll ask you to accept it.
I don't see it yet.
Okay. Maybe click the play button, maybe.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, just now it came. Can you see me? Okay. Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is TV Singh. I work at UCLA Institute for Digital Research and Education. So we run IDRI, which is Institute for Digital Research and Education, Early Career Researchers Program. As a background, let me first explain UCLA IDRI. This will help us in understanding the purpose and motivation of early career researchers group. So IDRI is formed to empower faculty-led innovation in digitally enabled research. It is led by IDRI Executive Committee, and it is sponsored jointly by Vice Chancellor Research and Vice Provost Information Technology. Its vision is to sustain UCLA as a world leader in innovative use, application, and development of computational, data, and information sciences, and digital technologies that drive culture and societal change. In order to realize its vision, it leads a campus-wide effort on innovative research and education on the use and development of advanced cyber infrastructure methods, tools, and services. This involves bringing together researchers working in domain, computational, data and information sciences, and digital scholarship and creative activities. So time to time during meetings, discussions about computing pops up. But all the time when somebody dives into the details, the faculty refers to their students working on the topic. We also experience that most of the work is done by students under guidance of their professors. Meaning the student body is a significant building block for any collaborative research at higher educational institutions, and therefore we wanted to leverage this resource to further its mission. With this background, we called a meeting that was May 31st, 2016. It was a lunch meeting for early career researchers. More than 60 people showed up. It was to discuss the formation of the group, the type of activities it will have, and a process to elect 2 representative members of the group to the IDRI Executive Committee. 4 researchers stepped up to lead the group. Another parallel effort was the IDRI Scholars Program. It is to partially support postdocs working on research related to high performance computing, graphics processing unit, and many core-based computing architecture, statistical computing and data informatics, graphical information systems, data visualization, and 3D modeling. And these are the areas that are of interest to IDRI. The selected fellows are then required to present their work and conduct workshops in their respective fields of research. The Early Career Researchers Program is a combination of these 2 efforts, young researchers and IDRI scholars. Its committee includes both the leaders from Young Researchers Group and IDRI scholars. They meet every month to discuss and plan activities. We have organized many events, including presentations, poster sessions, panel discussions. The latest was the poster session in November 2019. We had 42 posters. They were presented. Out of those, 4 were picked up as the best poster awards in their respective fields. Since such an exercise allows students to put their research in a presentable and concise manner, the faculty supported this activity, and they encouraged us to do more of these things. Another outcome from IDRI Scholar program, all from the first batch presented their work to the ECR group. It was a nice practice for their job interview presentations. 3 of them are now faculty in prestigious universities, and 1 was selected as a researcher in the lab of major IT firm. I think as an introduction, that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions. This program is, it is started as an ad hoc program. We didn't have any funding as such, but it came out to be a really good program. So results are encouraging, and in the recent planning process, the ECR program is going to take a central place. So we will have a stream of funds to manage this program. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, TV. And thank you to everybody who presented today. And all of your presentations were great, and we really appreciate them. We'd like to now open the space up for questions. So we've got a few questions in the queue, but if you've got something you would like to ask the presenters, please go ahead and pop it into the questions box. And now I'm going to hand over control to Jeff. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Jeff. All right. So it looks like we've got a few questions about finding and communicating with early career researchers, and specifically identifying them and developing connections with them. And that seems to be like, how do you get the program started, and how do you find people who would be interested in, like, how do you find qualified candidates? And all of you are dealing with this in very different ways. So whoever would like to answer this first would be fantastic.
So I can go first in this. So, so IDRI, as I mentioned, it is a program. I mean, it is an institute that supports the computational research. and encourage the innovation in that field. So as part of this portfolio, we have a research computing, research technology group that provides the computing services to the university. So all the people that require any kind of computing, they are part of that effort. And we segregate those emails into faculty, staff, and students. So we get the data for the student who are working in this kind of field, and we reach out to them directly. And that's how we came up with these things.
This is Lisa. I can talk a little bit about how we started out, which we've evolved, how we do that search. So our first time doing this, we didn't have an open nominations form. What we did was, this is for Talented 12, we initially reached out to a panel of trusted advisors who were kind of our formal advisory panel for the program, and asked them to tell us about 2 or 3 people that they thought were really promising and might be flying under the radar. And so those included prominent scientists, but it also included people like venture capital firms that are funding, startup companies, because they often have a view into the labs of early career scientists that are doing interesting work. After that year, of course, we did have this open nomination form, but I continue to work really hard by reaching out to various organizations that can help provide me with names that ensure we have diversity across, which can take a lot of different forms. But I also, and I mean, I would encourage others to do this when they're starting a program. Every conversation I have with someone who I think might might have a good idea. I mean, I mentioned this single conversation I have, like, oh, that's great. By the way, you're someone who interacts with a lot, keeps track of science and interacts with a lot of young chemists, either in your own lab or who are, interested in working in your lab, or you're collaborating with, if you know anyone. So, I mean, I just think you have to just sort of be constantly promoting the program basically throughout the entire year.
I guess I can
Awesome.
answer from sorry.
No, go ahead.
From a different point of view, because we're Newcomers is kind of running events or workshops and training sessions. So our target approach to kind of reach early career researchers has been to just target every channel out there. We use Twitter accounts that the library and the UK Data Archive holds, the university Twitter account, internal emails. We have librarians talking to academics when they go to meetings with academics, or bringing flyers into meetings. We mention it in our welcome week for new postgraduate researchers. Departments engage in various ways. So sometimes we get invited to a department to talk or mention newcomers. So I think we've just tried every single channel to just spread the word as much as possible. And actually now we're sometimes being contacted by people who want to engage with this pool of early career researchers, and they want to use newcomers as a channel to reach early career researchers with specific opportunities or focus groups or things like that.
Just to add on, this is Dana, to what Katrine was saying, we went through much the same approach of trying to use as many channels as we could think of, and we felt like it was a bit of a balance. We had the one editor who really didn't want to open up too broadly, not for any reason other than he thought he would be really inundated with a whole lot of unqualified candidates. And it was interesting going through the process and realizing that it actually sort of swung in the other direction. And, you know, based on what we've heard from our editors, we didn't get a whole lot of applicants who really aren't qualified for the program that we're offering. We actually got a number who are overqualified and not quite in that space that we're looking for. But really going out as broadly as we could through Twitter, talking about this at conferences, having our, you know, our editors promote it, kind of worked out the way that we hoped it would.
This is fantastic. Thank you, guys. We've also got an interesting set of questions about the impact for the researchers, and I'm curious, particularly for TV and Kat, because you're working very directly within the university with them. But we've got a question that says, do you find that the programming and research week activities that you're doing are translating to better papers and submissions from the early career researchers? Like, is there some way of measuring that it is having an impact on them and their work?
This is Kat. I think it would be really, really tricky to track that down because if you give early career researchers specific advice now, that might turn into a paper a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, and then the impact of that paper might be several years down the line from that again. And by then you have so many other factors influencing that researcher and a piece of work that it's quite tricky to say how much that impacts. But from feedback from participants who, for example, go to book on a one-to-one session with me on how to find a journal to publish in and how to write to target your article for that journal, then the immediate feedback is that this is really, really helpful. So I guess there's some kind of success in that, but it's so hard to tell down the line if there is true impact.
So yeah, and this is as she said, it's very tricky. However, the way we did this poster session, it is kind of presentation that can lead to a paper. I have got some thanks in the past from literary scholars because we supported their postdocship. So they thanked us for the support in their research papers, those were published. Apart from that, yes, it is very difficult to track that unless we start doing it person-wise. Like take the person's name and search all the libraries where somebody might have been published. So yeah, it's a tricky question and difficult to implement in a definite way.
Yeah, for sure. This is a question for Dana. Can you expand on the role of mentor editors? Like, what did they do? Did you have a lot of enthusiastic editor participation, or was it difficult to engage them to mentor the early career researchers?
Well, you know, we went to a larger group. We went to all 34 of our editors and talked about the program. And, you know, in the end, we have 5 editors who decided that they really wanted to jump on board and participate. So that's just to give an idea. We got a little over 10% participation and interest. Those who are participating are very enthusiastic, which is great. They tend to be our more involved editors anyway, which I guess is no surprise. Their role really is to provide feedback on what's a helpful review, how to really interpret, you know, comments to editors and you know, drill those down into logical decision recommendations. Definitely the journal promotion part. The editors, many of these editors participating have great ideas about what they would like to do for journal promotion and no time to make that happen. And so, you know, the idea of working with somebody who's really close to the journal, close to the content and the goals for the journal, and kind of using this as a second in command to bolster the journal name, is a major role. But really teaching the participants about what it means to be not just a reviewer, but a member, an associate editor, is what that's all about. I hope that kind of covers the question. Feel free to reach out to me if you have follow-ups. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a question that it could be very, very interesting because we have folks from publishing and from libraries and from programming within the university. How did your program get approved, and where does it sit within your organization? And like, I guess perhaps a corollary would be, are there partnerships within the with other departments within the organization, and why is it in that particular place in your organization? Do you think that is the best place to be helping early career researchers?
So in our case, it started with the executive committee, which is a group of faculty from different parts of the UCLA. And it was being any, because it is related to research computing, they discuss about these issues, and every time they name one of their student or group of students that this is what is happening. So that observation basically came up to the level that, okay, every work, I mean, all the basic work is being done by these students. Why don't we leverage that resource? And when this idea popped up, the executive committee all agreed, yes, this sounds like a good idea, let's test it out. And that's how we started it. Now, we just finished our strategy for next 5 years. And during that strategy, we interviewed hundreds of people around the campus from different parts. And this idea was one of the focus idea that remained the central to the theme. And now it is one of the activity that will be funded in the future. So that's how it is going to work.
As a cat, I think for newcomers, we grew very organically. So there was no kind of initial approval. It was kind of, hey, we already do this. Let's work together and do this better. So it's kind of the three sections: the UK Data Archive, the library, and the Research and Enterprise Office. It made sense for us to be the three kind of connecting sections for newcomers. And then this has led to we now do reports on attendance and things like that to research committee, and we work closely with deputy dean's research. So it's kind of just grown and grown, and we're part of a conversation in terms of research support in a framework, in a wider kind of sense. But that's something that's ongoing, and it's happening. So it's kind of in terms of ethics, it's like watch this space, I guess.
This is Lisa. You know, I'm obviously in a little bit of a unique position because I'm at a magazine, and so our review approval process is probably different. However, we sit inside, you know, a large publisher, the American Chemical Society. So initially, this program was conceived of by 2 journalists on staff. I came on board, and the 3 of us wrote a white paper that we brought to our editor-in-chief, who thought that this would be a good idea. This is kind of our process whenever something might be resource intensive internally. Once that launched, though, I think it really the ACS does a lot of awards for early career researchers, and so we really wanted this to feel different. I think those raised the profile of researchers within the chemistry community. I think our hope was that we would be raising the profile of early career researchers more broadly. And so I think since then, there's really been a pretty active collaboration as the program has evolved between, CNEN for this project and the ACS press office. I reach out to journal editors to get their ideas about who they think, we should be considering and to potentially nominate people. We reach out to others within ACS because when they get award nominations for some of the other early career researcher awards, they might be appropriate for us. So as it has grown, we've had to be a little careful about how we position ourselves and also make sure that it's clear that what we're doing is different than what ACS was already doing to promote early career researchers.
Great, so I think we have time for just about one more question. I was wondering if you could all tell me like one regret that you have about this program.
I'll give mine. This is Lisa again. I'll just say that I think in the early year or two, I'm not sure we were always so clear in our nominations form about what we were looking for in a good candidate for Talented 12. And over time, we've gotten better at communicating like what makes a good candidate, to nominate. And I think that can be difficult to make sure that early on your messaging is appropriate so that you get the right people applying for your program.
I guess for me, the regret, it's a challenge when you see a lot of outstanding students competing for example, this poster session. Each and every piece of work was so impressive that we judges had a tough time to agree upon the best posters. And same thing happens when we receive the IDRI Scholars nominations and proposals. It's very difficult to choose something that's outstanding, and I mean, because they are all like that. Apart from that, I think I'm happy with the outcome. I wish we had more funding right from the beginning, but it's coming. It's in the stream now.
This is Dana. I think it's a little early for me to be able to, even know at this point what our regrets are. We're really just getting started in implementation, and up to this point, have really been in planning and recruitment and all of that. But thinking about where we're going to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, when we're wanting to bring more editors along and grow the program and really show some measurable outcomes from it. I think we haven't thought enough about how we're going to measure whether the program is successful. I think we know what the qualifications are, but how will we really say this has been, everything that we've hoped it would be? And I think we need to talk with our editors more about that. And think about what sorts of things we're going to look at the end of the ECEB members' terms to determine whether they should be promoted to associate editors. So, it's kind of more of a looking forward at this point and realizing that there is just still a lot more to be done rather than regrets.
Thanks all for your honesty there. So we have about 1 more minute. If we could hand this over to Jeff to just tell us about the next webinar coming up, we'll say goodbye. So here's Jeff.
That was a great discussion. Thank you to Kirsten, Linny, Lisa, Dana, Kat, and TV for this really engaging and excellent discussion. Thank all of you for attending as well. And once again, please do take a moment to respond to the webinar evaluation that you receive in your email. Your feedback helps us to continually improve this webinar program. Please also join us for the March SSP webinar, Getting Users to the Content, on Tuesday, March 17th. And with that, we are concluded. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.